Right, so the next set for Flesh and Blood has been announced. It is Rosetta. LSS basically went, you want Arcane, you want Tales? Well, why not have both? So, this is the all Arcane set mentioned by James White in his interview with Klloo, right? Introducing 2 new Wizards and 2 new Runeblades. It is the all Arcane set. I want to double down on that because while, again, being all Arcane, it is also the return to Aria by way of the Elemental Talents. Mainly Earth and Lightning, right? There is no Ice on the horizon just yet, right? So there's no debilitating meta, no Frostbite, no Control, by way other than, Azalea and debilitating arrows. But a speculative thought that I did have was, what if Armory Deck 3, right? Was it their way to reintroduce Oldhim, Elemental Guardian, or even just Ice altogether back into the meta without, again, having this plethora of cards or this meta that could sort of be shaped by the players, right? With an Armory deck, it is primarily whatever LSS have thought up. So if they did use Armory Deck 3 to reintroduce a hero, I do think at this point it might be Stravo, it might be Oldhim, or it might be something nice. I used to think it would be Vizet, but I don't think so anymore, right? Since we are getting 2 new Runeblades, I don't think that's necessary. There'll be some Runeblade love in the normal Runeblade slot of the set anyway, at least I'd assume, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I think before we actually dive into all the information presented here, why don't we just go over the juiciest stuff first? So, interestingly, right, we have Aurora, and these are the hero marvels of the set. Now, curiously, Aurora is 06 in this piece of art, but the other Aurora that has been spoiled, and it was spoiled during this stream as well, this announcement, is actually a different piece of art. It is number 8, it is still young, still the same ability, but 2 sets of art for Aurora. So this initially got me thinking, well, are we getting double ups of every single hero? That was quickly put to bed because unfortunately for Florian, right, 2 and 3, young adults, and then unfortunately Germinate comes in at number 4, meaning that they don't have 2 versions, only Aurora does. So we know Aurora is 6 and most likely 7, and then the other version is 8 and 9. So yeah, for whatever reason, there are 2 versions of Aurora, just in art, not in ability, right? I think that is worth stating. So that does make me super curious why they've gone with that. Did they just like both art, maybe? Or does she have another purpose? Because it was also mentioned that she would be a nice tool for the introduction of players. And that made me then go, well, is she going to be leading the strike decks? Are the strike decks going to be connected to Rosetta? They can't be complete overlap because in Rosetta we are getting a 4-deck bundle, right? By way of 1 for every single hero. So yeah, that was a curiosity, but we know at the very least, right, Marvel-wise, there is at least 10 heroes, which is a big factor because there are 24 Marvels in this set. There are even more than Mistval, and Mistval had the plethora of Transcend cards, so very curious to see what the Marvels are going to be. Other than that, the most speculated card, right, that I want to present to you is going to be Channel Thunder Steep. Right, so this is Go Again. Whenever you play an action card, you may pay 1. If you do, it gains Go Again. It is a lightning action aura, so you put it into play, meaning that it can be played in both the new Lightning Wizard and, of course, Aurora, the new Lightning Runeblade. So the curiosity for me with this card is, if you think about Runeblade and you think about Wizard, what is the one thing they really want? Well, Go Again. Right, Wizard wants to either make their cards instant by way of Kano's ability, or have Go Again. Runeblade also wants to shore up their Go Again ability. So the question I pose to you, if you could take 3 copies of this in any current Kano deck, would you? And I'm pretty sure you'd answer yes. I'm pretty sure you'd rather put the 1 resource towards this than the extra arcane damage from the glove slot. So I do think this card is going to go through the roof, and one way or the other, I do already think that whatever the Lightning Wizard is probably going to dominate the meta, because it is just going to be so insane, since they will have access to not only the Go Again, the action points, but the old streamline of Lightning and aggro, coupled with the fact that they're just throwing out a plethora of arcane damage. If you look through all the Lightning cards, and you go, well, what if I could take this, this, and this, and then run the normal Wizard backbone? How would that perform? And I think you'll probably go, yeah, that'll do quite nicely. So I do think whatever our giant mech friend is going to be, he is going to be top dog of the deck, right? Yeah, he looks pretty sick too. I think this is my favorite Marvel just because it sort of reminds me of the Kaladesh Marvels from MTG, right? This artwork to me stands out a little bit too poppy, but hopefully both Auroras have Marvels, right? And it's not just Marvel whatever this art version is, and then the other one is the normal art, right? I feel that's kind of weird as well. Weird choice. But nonetheless, right, on to the actual details of the set. So Rosetta returns to the mythical sanctuary of Aria through the thorny thicket and volatile thunderstorms, deep into the dense undergrowth where the forces of earth and lightning converge. Releasing September 20th, so near the end of September, but technically we have the preview August, then we have the premiere start of September, then we have the pre-release, right, middle, and then the actual release of the set. So it is coming pretty early September-wise, and right, we'll know fully about the set before then. But we do get our all Arcane classes, 2 Wizards, 2 Runeblades, and the return of Earth and Lightning, with a brand new 2-class, 2-talent set structure, opening up sealed deck and boosted draft possibility. So this is a curiosity to me, right? Because if you go through the logistics in your head, we are maintaining the 8-pack sealed, right? Which is fantastic. I assume we're also going to maintain the smaller deck size, right? In order to, again, make it more workable. But it makes me curious. Are we going to have generics? Are we going to have elements? Are we going to have Earth? Are we going to have Lightning? Are we going to have Lightning Runeblade, right? Because I'm already listing off way too much to make this work. So the fact that we have a brand new 2-class, 2-talent set structure can be interpreted a couple ways. Either the cards are going to be Runeblade Wizard, the cards are going to be Lightning Earth, or the cards are going to be Runeblade Wizard by way of the elements, right? Or just Runeblade Wizard and then the 2 elements, right? So there's lots of ways to interpret that, and I'm really looking forward to how much they cut down on Tails, because Tails, if you go through the type of cards that were introduced, it is pretty insane, right? Because you had Elemental, you had specific elements, you had Elemental hero cards, class cards, right? And then you have the fuse mechanic on top of that. It is a mind-boggling amount. So I'm very curious to see how they've stripped it down, not only with just, cutting out 1/3 of the elements, but yeah, it should make for a quite interesting sealed environment. We also get the return of the elemental talent to constructed, which is definitely very vital, right? Again, it doesn't reactivate the entirety of the Tales of Aria set. So before you go off, buying or holding or trying to speculate on the worth of those boxes, do remember the crossover is quite fringe in actuality. There are definitely some staples that you really want, again, like Channel Thunder Steep, but across the board, there are still a lot of cards that do nothing, right? And then we have a collection of 24 stunning full art Marvel cards. Curious, because this is a huge amount compared to Miss Vale's 18, which was actually, 17, and then you take out the heroes, and that's 11, right? Actual inset Marvels. Again, if we sort of speculate and say, 10 of these are heroes, that's still 14 Marvels. That's still more than Miss Vale, right? Even if you cut out all the heroes, right? Aurora with 2 sets of Marvels. Okay, so hear me out, right? This thought did pop into our head when we were speculating on what's to come, right? Right after the early release of Miss Vale. But when talking about the Marvels for Rosetta, there are 24 in total. We have 27, right? Heroes currently legal for play. Now, we can cross off a decent amount of them, right? Because Nu has a Marvel, Betsy has a Marvel, Olympia has a Marvel, Enigma has a Marvel, right? We can go through the list and cross off everyone who basically came out in heavy hitters and Miss Val. And what does the number then end up looking like? Well, currently that is now 19 instead of 27, right? So that's still not quite working out, because there's at least 8 hero Marvels if they're targeting young and old again. But what I'm trying to fish for is the 5-year anniversary for Fab is coming up, right? So I do think a wonderful way to commemorate it would be Marvel Heroes. Now, I know we have ex-Marvel Heroes when it comes to the history product, but I've always sort of seen that as slightly flexible when it comes to alt art, and I do think it would be one of the best ways to commemorate the 5-year anniversary is to again have these alternative Marvel full art cards for every single hero in the game. That would be insanely collectible and probably something that they don't want spoiled, which again, they have mentioned, right? They want all the spoilers for this set to come out when it's opened, not in the spoiler season for all the high rarity chase. So I would be very interested to see if maybe we do get some sense of extra heroes marveled, right? For, again, the 5-year anniversary release, right? Just a thought. So very, very curious to see. Preview season, end of August. World premiere, start of September. The calling is where it will actually, be played in plethora, right? So that is, again, start of September. Then we have the pre-release events running mid-September. Then the actual release on the 20th. Now, again, I'm sort of a bit pessimistic towards this structure, right? This 3-week cycle of a set coming out and being absolutely speculated to the moon, right? Because you have just a small fringe amount of cards coming out, and with how Miss Vale performed, right, in terms of sales, in terms of price gouging, right, we'll call it what it is. I'm a little bit worried that, especially because this is a US event, that you will have a bunch of people who are just coming to get their 8 packs, to get their cards and leave to try and make a quick buck, and that is worrisome, right? That is not the release of a set that I really want to see, right? I want everyone to enjoy it and not people to get, ripped off by this card being 10 times its necessary price because there are just, so few coming out, but there are still going to be events that weekend, the next weekend, all before the set actually comes out. So, we have Felling of the Crown. A candle flickers. The candle has stood at the head of the mantle of this magical grove buried deep within Aria for an age again. But the wick draws short, the warmth and the light of the candle will soon turn to darkness and sorrow, and we get our first I call it pseudo, Necromancer type card, because this definitely feels Necromancer-esque, right, with Decompose as the keyword. So we have this ability, when this attacks, you may banish 2 earth cards and an action card from the graveyard. If you do, each hero puts a card from their hand on the bottom of the deck. So we assume Decompose will always be banish earth cards and an action card or something similar to that, and then it does its effects, which is fairly cool, because again, it's utilizing the cards you've spent from the graveyard in a sort of different way for what we've seen, and that looks very Necromancer-esque and feels, from the rotting of trees, very Necromancer-esque. And I can see, our new evil hero, right, to some extent, being this eventual, I no longer care about earth cards, I'm going to sack whatever. And this could be, them experimenting with the feel that they want to capture when we do get Necromancer, because again, it has been highly, highly desired by the community. So, we have Felling of the Crown, Germinate, which is the Florian specialization for said person. Create a rune chant or embodiment of Earth token, repeat this process X more times, so basically create half the amount you've spent, right? And then gain 1 life plus half the amount you spent, right? I think that's always just the easier way to say it. So that seems bonkers. It seems like a huge defensive play, or just a huge way to stack up Rune Chant, or, an even amount, right? Take some defense, take the Rune Chant you need to activate Rune Gate or any of the other discounts, and then go nuts. And then we also have Heartbeat of Candlehold, which is for the Earth Wizard, right? And we have gain 1 life, gain 1 life, gain 1 life, which is quite interesting because it means we're probably getting this really tanky wizard, which I think is going to be a really fun, unique playstyle, and that has me super excited compared to, again, Lightning Wizard, which is seemingly showing up the biggest hurdle that Wizard has by way of the Lightning talent and what Lightning usually does. So, very interested. Then we have the 4, right? So, we have Earth, Runeblade, Earth Wizard, Lightning, Runeblade, and, of course, Lightning Wizard by way of our cool-looking golem guy, right? Very interested in him and his playstyle. Again, I think Lightning Wizard is just going to take the meta, right, by storm, literally. So ways to play, again, Tampa Bay. We have sealed decks, day 1. Then we have follow-up and booster draft. Then we also have more sealed decks. So again, lots of packs available, right? And a little bit of worry. Then we have the pre-release events being run. Then we have play day, right? So again, a nice 3-week cycle. Now the expanded slots, right? I cannot see how this is anything other than basically armor for every single class that has Arcane Barrier and a useful effect, rather than just Arcane Barrier, right? Because I think that's the biggest hurdle for an all Arcane set, is every single matchup is you are meant to sideboard this equipment to be able to have Arcane Barrier, to be able to protect yourself, that then makes you unequip something more impactful for your class, for your deck, right? While at the same time, they get all the benefit, because the majority of Runeblade and Wizard cards already have Arcane Barrier, right? They already have powerful effects, and there's just that big discrepancy between quality of equipment with Arcane Barrier versus quality without, right? Some classes, like Ranger, have plenty, that's cool, but a lot of classes don't. So I can honestly see every single card in the expansion slot being a piece of equipment that is Arcane Barrier plus decent effect, right? Majestic level effect, so that every class has a proper piece of equipment to swap into, and it's not just Null Rune, right? I think Null Rune being the only main card for a lot of classes in a lot of slots is a bit problematic. So that is my speculation for the expansion slot. But there are 15 cards, I want to say. I saw that somewhere, but now that I'm looking at this, it's 1 in 15, but I'm pretty sure I saw 15. Yeah, 15 new cards covering a range of heroes and classes outside the 2, right, featured in Rosetta. But then we have 1 Fabled, 5 Legendaries, 49 Majestics. Yeah, we don't really care about this subset. Well, the tokens are fun to speculate on. But yeah, 24 Marvels is is super insane. But 5 legendaries. So I can see it either being 1 Earth, 1 Lightning, right? 1 Runeblade, 1 Wizard, or 1 for each specific hero, right? That's meant to be used for them, and then 1 generic. I think that's probably the way they'll go, similar to Mistveil, right? Although again, probably Runeblade elements and then generic slot as well. That's probably the better way to do it. Yeah. But tokens, we might as well go through these since it's nice and easy to figure out the 14, or at least I think it is, right? We did this a little bit on stream. So the conclusion we came to is 1, you've got the 4 heroes. So that's 4. You have their 4 weapons. That's 8. You then have the cracked bauble for drafting. So that's 9. You then have the tokens that have already been mentioned on cards. So 10, 11, 12, leaving just 2 token slots. And to me, Spellbane Aegis, right, makes sense because we're going into an Arcane set. So some way to generate that seems worthwhile. And then Ponder, because we're going into Wizard, and Ponder seems like a very Wizard-esque thing, right? So those are the tokens that I'm thinking up. Nothing new, right? Which is fine because we're not really getting anything new. But yeah, so 14 seems like a lot, but when you break it down and think about it, it's not too many. And then yeah, 24 marvels. So again, if 10 of them are heroes, that still leaves 14. If only 8 of them are heroes, that's even crazier to me because that means there's 16 marvels for the set. So yeah, what could they be, right? What impact are they going to have? Now, I was thinking the channel cards, but we've already seen channel be extended art. I don't think they go extended art and Marvel. Or they could be tricking us again, and it's extended art and Marvel on the back. Because I think these landscape S cards are the best cards for them to end up marveling, because, you know, they look really good as full art. So maybe they do that. Maybe that's the change. We have these landscape-esque cards as Marvel, similar to the Sacred Arts, right? I don't think there's going to be some underlying mechanic. They might, similar to Transcend, but nothing comes to mind, nothing feels necessary. So I don't think that's the go. I don't think there's just a plethora of common Marvels that, again, are these toolkits for limited play. I think we would have sort of seen something come about from the heroes that we have seen, right? So I don't think there's anything like that. It's just a huge amount of Marvels, and it's piqued my curiosity because, you know, there's not this big set of allies to summon, unless, you know, maybe it is straight up just Necromancer by way of Earth Runeblade, which could be cool, right? But yeah, so just a whole bunch of Marvels. Other than that, anything else that we still are left to cover? Oh, yes. In the Japanese, we have Arcanite Skullcap. That's kind of a given, right? But, interestingly, we have Shock Charm as being a staple reprint that they feel necessary to add to the Japanese boxes, right? So I think lots of people are going to speculate on Shock Charmers for this exact reason, the fact that LSS have put it forward as something being, you know, necessary to be a part of the cards in, what would you say, pool, right? Basically because, again, you know, Japan hasn't had the earlier sets. So they're getting the archival product, but this is something that LSS have highlighted and gone out of their way to highlight and say, well, we think it's necessary in the Japanese boxes. So, I don't know, Shock Charmers could have just a significantly great use in the set. I don't think so, in all honesty, right? Okay, Blitz decks. So we're getting a collection again, right? We're getting 1 less booster pack. So instead of 3, there's now 2, but you get 1 extra deck, right? Again, it's probably, you know, equivalent cost basis for them. Yeah, well, it's actually, you know, better because they're printing more cards technically. I love the playmat. It looks gorgeous. I love the feel, right? The autumn season this time when we visit Aria. Last time was winter, right? Now it feels like autumn. So I'm curious if we go through the 4 cycle, right? Something like that would be cool. But we get Rainbow Foil Heroes and some non-foil extended arts in each deck. Same price point, right? Nothing to complain about. Japan, they are sold as separate decks, right? Again, I've sort of spoke on it. The main reason for this to me is just to make it easier for stores to stock and sell, right? It's an all or nothing thing. They don't get caught with a supply of decks that are less popular than something, right? So I like it, right? Choice would be fantastic, but if you had to pick one or the other, I think this is the better option than selling them as individual decks or bricks, right? So yeah, I do like it. But I think that's everything we wanted to cover, right? We'll wait till there's more cards to really go through them. But yeah, Decompose is definitely the highlight to look at. And amp being a keyword, I guess, is something we should probably point out, right? When it enters the arena at the beginning of your action phase, amp 3, just 3 extra arcane damage on the first thing you do. Again, to me, it is nowhere near as impactful as Channel Thunder Steep. Again, shoring up the main issue that both Runeblade and Wizard have shown themselves to have is just a lack of go-get. And all you have to do is pay 1. Yeah. Lightning Wizard, right? Hands down for me, going to be the broken class. But we'll leave it there. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.